Hey everybody, welcome to MLS RoundTable presented by SNHU. Today it is my absolute pleasure to be joined by this incredible group of ladies. We are going to be talking a little women in soccer and our roles in it. So let's get to it. In some capacity, we work in soccer, right? It has brought us together, but it's in very different ways and very different facets. And it's such a pleasure to have these incredible female minds here, brought together by the beautiful game. I'm gonna do some intros right now in case we all don't know each other. We have Fox broadcaster, my good friend Katie Witham. Yes. We have pro player Yael Averbuch. Thank you so much for being here. Of course. We have the founder of Orlando City SC, Rawlins. How do I get that on my resume? And we have Tifo extraordinaire, Atlanta United hardcore supporter, Miss Vera Zeigler. Thank you so much for being here. So I think to start off, where I would like to get a little bit more familiar with you guys and your sort of journey within soccer, how you first got involved and how that relationship has evolved since then. So Kay, I want to start with you as our front office representative here.
Okay. Well, obviously grew up in England, so it's the sport. So I've been going to watch soccer since I can't even remember how old I was. As a kid growing up, certainly in my era, it wasn't played in school. And I played every other sport, but I never played soccer because it wasn't done. So it's definitely always been an interest of mine. So I was a season ticket holder at Stoke City. It's my hometown team, and then had the opportunity, I started in Austin, but obviously in Orlando, to actually start a team. I know.
When did that thought even creep into your head?
When we were living in Austin, and Stoke City asked us to find an affiliate. And so that was when we really started looking at the soccer landscape in America. I didn't really know much about it. Looked at USL, looked at MLS, and we couldn't find an affiliate that we liked, so we said, why don't we just start our own team? And that's what we did.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history, exactly.
And now we have Orlando City.
Right.
That's incredible. Yael, you grew up playing the game, right?
Yeah, so actually quite different. My parents and no one I knew really played soccer, but as a kid, my best friend in school joined a soccer team and invited me to come watch her game. And I went to watch, and they actually needed an extra player that day. And so they asked me to play it, and I was like, heck no. I was so shy and so scared. Yeah, I wouldn't do it. I didn't, and so they played down a player, I think. But then it looked like so much fun that I signed up the next season. And I think at the time I was 7 or 8, and I've been obsessed with the game ever since.
I think she can make it from here.
Yep. She's going to try,
oh,
and she does!
and that's a goal!
I mean, I remember as a 9-year-old writing in my little journal saying, I want to be a professional soccer player when I grow up. Aww. And yeah, I did not know what that meant, I will be honest, and I had no idea what that would entail and how much the game would become just an integral part of my life. Like everything about who I am has to do with my journey through soccer since I can remember.
I've always had a passion for sports, and it runs the gamut. I played a little bit of everything, basketball to volleyball, and I didn't fully play soccer until I got to high school. And it was more for training for basketball. It's like, I need you out there running. Yeah. And so I fell in love with it. It's the pacing. I was a goalie. We were not that great, but I enjoyed it. Yes.
So you had a lot of action back
I
then.
had a lot of action. A lot of gold balls got popped. Through my life, it's always been, athletics and art, but art kind of took over. And I focused on that more so. So when it came to supporting soccer and just the passion and the culture of it, I was like, art and TIFOs, that sounds like Vera needs to be a part of that. That sounds like a platform I could get in. I would make signs and go to, other sporting events, but now I can make, installations of
What is so cool is that sports were such a big part of all of our lives growing up, I take it, and that's sort of the reason why we kind of found this path to the sport and to soccer. And When I was a kid, I played basketball, I played volleyball, I played soccer, not very well at all. But a huge moment was the Women's World Cup, you know, the Brandy Chastain moment. And that was for me like the first moment when it was suddenly in my brain, and I was like, oh my goodness, like this is cool, and the whole entire world is paying attention. So do you guys have any memories of that specifically, of that kind of like being a big moment?
Yeah. Yeah, and I have the poster.
Yeah.
I think my mom still has it on my wall at home. I mean, it's like time to redecorate, Mom. But no, I mean, and I'm sure you remember that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I actually got the chance. I was pretty serious as a player around the time when the World Cup was happening, and actually the opening games were at Giant Stadium at the time, and I got to go watch the team train at, I think, like the Pingree School before, so I was right up close watching them train, and I remember like a couple of stray balls went behind the goal and I kicked it back, and I was like, oh, I wonder if they can see that I can like kick really well. Like, but it's crazy. But then, yeah, I was in the stands for those opening games, and then watching the final, I think that was when, you know, those women were celebrities all of a sudden. And this was something where it wasn't just the sport, it was like, then you saw them on TV commercials after the World Cup, and it was just so cool to me, and there was no question in my mind that, you know, I wanted to be them, like all of them.
You kind of saying that it was like the sport at the moment, maybe was the first moment, and I'm realizing it right now, where it wasn't just women playing something, it was the sport for a moment, and then it was women doing it, which, and we're getting closer to that moment across the board.
We are. MLS's fan base is 30% of it is women, which is higher than any other professional sports league, which is pretty cool. And so, Vera, I want to ask you specifically, as our resident super fan, why do you think that is? Why do you think soccer has resonated with a female fan base?
I think it's that passion that you can exploit. I know for where we are in Atlanta, it's a mixture of, you know, former players, people who played, people who had the passion, just know about the sport, who watched it, you know, Premier League, and now have an MLS team there. And across the board, that passion to be able to just express yourself on an even playing field. When we're at tailgates, there's no, you know, separation of group. Where, you know, well, you have capos who represent and go hard, just as hard as the guys do. And like you said, leadership positions. If I'm directing a TIFO, if my friend she's capoing or directing, you know, communications with the front office, we're in positions where we can express ourselves, get things done. And there's always, you know, there's trust there, but, you know, we're efficient. And I think the respect we have, especially too when we talk the game, there's no kind of, you know, baiting, like, oh, let me see what she knows. There's never that. When we're in the conversation, our points are valid. There's belief there. They know we're coming with the facts, for sure.
We were chatting before the cameras were rolling, and you were talking about how many times you are the only woman in the room when you go into these meetings with the bigwigs, and I just want to get a sense of what that's like and how you prepare for that and come in and make people listen.
I think number one, I've been blessed always with a certain amount of self-confidence. I'm one of 5 kids who was pushed to do, you know, whatever I wanted to do. So I think there's that piece of it. I also know what I'm talking about, and I think that gives you that inner confidence that you're not going to ask me something that I'm not going to know. And so there's definitely that piece. But yeah, it's definitely in my own office. You know, we have our staff meeting of the VPs every week, and I'm the only female in the room.
Do you think about that when you're in the room, though? Or is it just, does it not even cross your mind at this point?
It really doesn't cross my mind, just because I know I have the respect there, and, you know, I know they will listen. But, you know, do I wish there were more females in positions of power? Of course I do.
You know, it's really interesting because in just listening to this, I'm thinking to myself, you know, obviously I'm surrounded by my teammates as females, but a lot of the times the front office staff and the coaches are all males. So, and we're getting more females to stay involved in the game, and I think that's our challenge as players is to be, to be the example like you are, and be the female who stays involved and joins the front office staff of a club after she's done playing. And we haven't really seen that yet in the women's game. Are players who feel empowered enough after their career and maybe not so tired and worn out from it that they want to stay involved, not just as coaches, which I think is great, but also, to take roles in the media and in running organizations, because at the end of the day, nobody's going to care more about the women's organizations than women.
I have always felt, and I know you said too, that I've had to do sort of like double the preparation ahead of anything to kind of prove myself in this male-dominated world that we work in. What has your experience been like, specifically working in soccer?
Yeah.
Because I know that you've covered so many other sports as well.
Yeah. I guess I can only base it on my experience, which is working a significant portion of the time in Major League Baseball, college football, college basketball, bopping around. And when I sat down and really started thinking about, okay, what advantages or disadvantages do I have working in soccer, I almost took a deep breath because I was like, oh my gosh, life is so much easier now, because I don't know if it's because the women's game here, particularly in the US, it has been elevated to such a high level that they immediately appreciate your voice. You were saying, like, nobody discredits anything that you say when you're in a meeting, and vice versa. You have that confidence when you come in. And yeah, I still prepare twice as hard. Sure. And I think that's more me probably than anything, because I've been ingrained that I have to know what I'm talking about. You always feel like you have to prove yourself, but for some reason in soccer, and I think it's because this sport in particular is so forward thinking. We embrace first, we embrace new things that, it's nice, it's great, and you're more accepted and you're more appreciated, and they want to hear your voice, which is awesome. They wanted an all-female broadcast.
That was exactly where I was going.
I mean,
That is exactly where I was going, because this was such an incredible moment. It made me so emotional. Number one, because you're my friend, and I was like so proud. But you were a part of history. You were part of the first all-female
Crazy to think that.
soccer broadcast.
Yes.
I mean, it not only was it great, it was sensational.
Hey everybody, welcome down on the pitch here at Audi Field, right behind the goal. I'm Katie Witham. These two teams right now are trending in opposite directions. Now it's worth noting for the home side, this is their third match in 7 games. The goal this week, a 9-point week. Right now they are 1 win away from achieving that goal. Now for more on this match and your first look at the starting lineups, it is my pleasure to send it upstairs to the women calling this one, Lisa Byington and Danielle Slayton.
Katie, thank you very much, and I am proud and honored to be alongside the former national team defender. And Danielle, Katie set it up really well. I mean, a month ago, let's be honest, we wouldn't have guessed that the stakes would be this high for both of these clubs.
How did that even get
Shaw
started?
Shaw Brown.
Okay.
Thank you, Shaw Brown. Our lead producer for soccer, everything at Fox. He's worked in every asset of the game. In every area with every network basically, but he's pushed for this for years, and it worked out this year. And I was so fortunate to stand beside 2 very strong women throughout the broadcast, but it was kind of a surreal experience, because the whole thing, we were trying to make it just another game, playing in a big game, right? So we're here, but it was DC United and the New England Revolution. We are there at DC United practice, and as they're walking in, we're waiting for our one-on-one meetings, and I mean, I'm at these every single week, right? The whole team starts walking in from training to head to their locker room, and then a few of the players will break off to come sit with us, and the beginning of the line actually stopped, turned around, and every single player, every person on the coaching staff, the equipment manager came up to us too. Stopped, turned around, shook our hands, and thanked us for allowing them to be a part of this moment.
Wow.
Which you think like, okay, how is this going to go over? You're going to hear about it on Instagram, Twitter, social media. And listen, there were a lot of people that talked about how they wanted us to just go make a sandwich instead of talk soccer. But there were so many people that said, I didn't even realize that this was a big deal and that there were 3 women calling this game until it was pointed out to me like later on, which, by the way, that's the best compliment. If you're like, hey, I didn't even realize that it was just the content of the game and what you were putting out there and the stories you were telling. And
I feel like as women, like we're natural multitaskers, right?
Yes,
we always have
absolutely.
a million things going on that we're always trying to do. And I mean, the ultimate multitasking job is to be a mom and also be working in soccer. And Kay, I know that you've got 4 kids of your own. We've got Miss Katie Witham, who is expecting a little one on the way. How do you balance it? Number one, yeah, what has that been like? Katie needs some tips here.
But what I would say was, would you ask a guy that?
Exactly. I actually asked 2 guys how they do it, traveling with a little one, a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old, because I'm trying to ingrain it in my brain for next year.
No, it's so fair.
And that's what the question should be, is how do you do it as a parent, not as a mom. Yeah. I mean, obviously in the beginning it falls on you because you're actually the one giving birth, all that kind of piece. But
let's not talk about that yet.
But I'll talk to you later. But I think, I think having family support, I think having a supportive partner and supportive workplace too, that are prepared.
I mean, you've had teammates that are now moms that have gotten pregnant. Like, what has it been like for them, and what have you seen?
Well, it's so interesting because I was actually thinking about that. Kind of when you were saying, ask how is it as a parent. Well, I was just, not this past season, but the season before, Sydney LaRue, now Dwyer. So you might have actually seen this happen, although now Sid and Dom, her husband, are in the same city. But during the season, Dom Dwyer got traded to Orlando. And so Sydney was essentially a single mom with her child, and also coming to training, going to the away games. And we would say, even when Dom was playing in Kansas City, we would say, like, well, can't he bring Cassius to training for the day? And we would all joke, like, oh, can you imagine what would happen to the kid at the training, like there with the sporting? Like, they're just not prepared. They've never probably seen that, the kids coming to training. So, but at the same time, we'd have Cassius would be, in the stroller with our admin or equipment person, going around the field in circles. And I was just imagining, can you imagine, with a men's team, like someone walking a stroller around the field? You just wouldn't see it.
Right.
So we had some funny, creative, we had some creative, funny solutions to things, and it was kind of like a team effort to support her, which was necessary because I can't even imagine, I would love to have a family and continue to play. I don't know if that will be possible for me, but I have so much respect for them.
How has it been for you? Because I know you only recently have started telling people
that
you are pregnant,
physically apparent.
and you're going to be.
Why have you had a soccer ball?
Like here. It was something that I've waited a long time because, and being in broadcasting, it's like professional sports to a certain extent. It is cutthroat, and you have to work and try to, work your way up this ladder that, I was scared to start a family and thinking it would be the death of my career. And so I didn't know how it would be received. And again, I think it's truly because it's soccer and not, if I were still working in Major League Baseball, I don't know if I'd still be working in Major League Baseball because I'm not sure that would be considered appropriate, which is really sad, right? But I can say, but I can say, my last couple of weeks, I'm at that point where I have to embrace the bump now. Like, I can't hide it anymore.
It's not going anywhere. You're putting it out to the world. Like, you are going to be a mother. Sydney, bringing Cassius around. I mean, how important is it to have some eyes on this and see that, like, it can be done, and here are 2 women that are doing their thing and getting it done? How important is that to you?
I think it's really important, and I think the next time you guys are running that baby around the field during, warm-ups, somebody should take a camera and put it out there.
Yael, earlier you kind of touched on the equal pay issue, which has been an interesting topic, especially for women in soccer. Last year, a new CBA was ratified with the U.S. women's national team. Better salaries, better bonuses, better accommodation and travel. I think we can all agree that this was probably something that was long overdue, but how important was it to get this through from a player's perspective?
Yeah, I think we all probably would know and recognize that it's so much more complicated than just, a paycheck salary. It has to do with, like you said, the travel, accommodations, all the things surrounding being a professional athlete and feeling like you're treated like a professional. We talked about the double standard of what we have to do as women to feel respected in this field, and it's the same thing. So I think when we talk about equal pay, it's equal support as well as the equal pay.
Do you think that because of the success of the women's national team, it just magnified this issue and therefore gave them a better leg to stand on?
100%. Yeah, I think, you know, we are leading the way in the women's game, and we have other countries looking to us to say, okay, what did you do with the CBA? How can we get there? So, you know, it's been in the news with the New Zealand women's national team, the Denmark women's national team boycotting the game, and there's just being, you know, there's a lot of awareness being raised surrounding it, and I think we're leading the way. We're in the forefront because we've had so much success in comparison to the men's team here. It's easy for us to, you know, be that, be that voice.
But I think the conversation that needs to continue to be had is, you guys are leading the way, right? But are other countries starting to catch up to the point where we still need to really push the issue here so the ball keeps rolling forward and in the right way for the women?
Yeah, and I think this is where it comes down to kind of, there's two things going on. One is the national team and that CBA, and I think the U.S. women's national team has historically been not only in the soccer world, but just in the world of women's sports, and just incredible leaders. Oh yeah, and like role models for everyone around the world in terms of like what females can do to kind of push the limits. But then we have our professional league, and that's where I think you see other countries doing things, and other countries with, you know, we have some great MLS clubs supporting female teams, and we were talking about this kind of a little bit before. But you know, in Europe, you have teams who have so much extra money and extra to be given to the women's side, and are starting to invest in the women's game in a way that I think we still have some room to grow here.
Have you felt supported from men in the industry or professional men's players? Have you felt like they are championing this as well?
At times. I think it could be more, not enough.
Kay's shaking her head.
Yeah, and I think the times really stand out because they're so too few and far between.
I just remember, and I love that you immediately shook your head, because
I was like singing out of the corner of my eye.
Well, being a media member, when the equal pay came out, and then all of a sudden the men's national team went silent. Went silent. And it's like, there's a moment where I get you don't want it to affect you, but there's a moment where you can stand beside and say, treat them better.
As you know, somebody who is the founder of this club, and then you have the Orlando Pride, like how big of a priority is that for you, Kay, to kind of implement it?
That was so important when we started the team, and one of the things we said to the players was, you will get treated the same. So they get a nutritionist. You know, for some of them, even the team providing breakfast and lunch for them was like, what? This is great.
Oh yeah, that's crazy for us. Like I got lunch this year by my team, and I was like in heaven.
Right. So we do that. We treat them the same as we treat our men players, and that was hugely important to us. And obviously, I wouldn't say I'm the only person who pushed that, but certainly had something to do with how that was all integrated into the team. So.
But even as something as simple as that, breakfast and lunch, you saw how excited she got. And it's not because you just love to eat, but
we do.
But it's true. It shows an investment in your
they have
players.
A nutritionist, they have
a
a fitness coach, and all of those things. And that's something we know just from the players who can play for us, that it's important. But also it can be unusual, and it shouldn't be. And there should be minimum standards that everyone has to adhere to.
So how do we continue to empower the young female fans and the young players and the young ladies that want to grow up to be Kay like I do now?
I know. The days have gone of going into one career and staying in that your whole life. I think that's changed. You know, and you can reinvent yourself anytime you want. And I think that's the message I would have. If you're in something and you're really not happy and it's not fulfilling you, then change. You can be that change and be brave and do it. And get other women around you, get them in your tribe, and get them.
Tribe. Yes. Is this our new tribe?
I have a tribe. Oh, I absolutely have a tribe.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Someone the other day was telling me, he said, if you could champion my failures just as much as you champion my success. So it's that same piece. You've got to see the struggle and the work that goes behind what, all the positive things and outcomes of it. But it's a lot of failure that goes before you actually get to a point of success or what you think is success of some sort.
So true.
Yeah, and you've got to take the highs with the lows when it comes there, and then sharing that, so people understand this work.
Women need other women.
Yeah, we do.
And we sure do. It's a club. It's a club. This is the best club right here. You guys, I'm seriously, I've gotten emotional so many times today, but I'm just so thankful for all of you being right here and your time that you've given and the stories that you've told. For me personally, this has just been incredibly inspiring, and I'm so excited for people to hear these conversations. Cheers to this fabulous group of ladies right here. Here's to more success, empowering more ladies.
Cheers.
And this tribe.
Bye.